Welcome in, Slumpbusters. It is time for another episode of Fantasy Versus. As we progress in training camp, we want to pair together two former teammates who surprisingly didn't have a dynamic passing offense while they were in college, but now that they're in the NFL, they are two of the best receivers in the league. AJ Brown, DK Metcalf. Drew has the rankings. Drew, who has the advantage?
My advantage goes to DK Metcalf. The reason being, very strong, new offensive coordinator that everyone loves. Now, Tyler Lockett had more shares than DK, but obviously we can't forget about the 50 reception game against Arizona where Tyler Lockett went for 230 yards and a few touchdowns. So that took a big amount away from DK. But with that being said, without that, DK is more obviously the number one there. DK gets the majority of the target shares. So compared to AJ Brown, where Ryan Tannehill spreads the ball pretty evenly with his wide receivers, as we saw Corey Davis getting about the same exact receptions as AJ Brown. But also too, you have to factor in that Derrick Henry is still there. They just signed Julio. Derrick Henry obviously is going to be the first option that they go to because obviously they need that run game to get going. A lot of the stuff is going to go to Derrick Henry, and then obviously you have to make Julio happy by giving him some receptions, so that takes away from AJ Brown compared to where DK and Lockett's more of a deep ball threat and more or less just gets the ball deep compared to where DK gets the ball pretty much anywhere on the field and he makes an impact no matter what. I like DK a lot more in this situation.
This may be boring listening, but I agree with you. DK Metcalf, I think, has the advantage over his former teammate in this squaring that we have here, because you just look at situation. You mentioned it. Julio Jones, new guy in the room. Is there undue pressure of the Tennessee Titans to want to feed the new guy the ball? And then also this change at offensive coordinator as well. Arthur Smith to Todd Downing. Now, Todd Downing, the last time he had a full-time OC job, it was more or less a mediocre performance that led in him getting fired from the Las Vegas Raiders. Whereas there's a lot of excitement in the air surrounding Shane Waldron and what's going on over there in Seattle. All the reports out of early training camp are a dynamic, complex offense that should be a little bit more balanced. Let's look at this, comparing the quarterbacks. Yes, Ryan Tannehill has been one of the bigger surprises of the last couple of years, reviving his career in the post-Adam Gase era section of it. But given that he still has only had a couple good years to his name that we know of. Whereas Russell Wilson, we know what Russ is. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. Let Russ cook. Puts up big time numbers, but hopefully with the change at coordinator, some additions along the offensive line, Russ will have more stamina at the end of the year to help you win your league. Another big story here before I close out my section, the strength of schedule argument. So let's look at what's going on in the playoffs towards the end there. Actually, these two will eventually meet at some point as the NFC West is going to be playing the AFC South. But in terms of those fantasy playoff weeks, AJ Brown at Pittsburgh versus San Francisco versus Miami. And if you're still playing in week 18 at Houston, so at least you have one quality matchup out of those four. But DK, the Rams, a lot of change there. Brandon Staley, their DC from last year, he's gone. Versus Chicago, middle tier matchup defensively. And then at Detroit. So if you manage to make it to the finals, at Detroit. So you got to like that a little bit more. It's a little bit close. You can make arguments here or there. San Francisco's defense, Chicago's defense. But at least knowing that there's at least one quality matchup there is enough to give the advantage to DK on strength of schedule as well.
Yeah, I agree too. The strength of schedule has a lot to do with this. Like you said, AJ Brown with a little bit more of a difficult path in those last four games. Obviously, San Francisco has a very good defense, all injured last year, so not too much of an impact last year, but their defense, everyone knock on wood, is back, is healthy, and so that's still a very scary defense. I mean, if San Francisco was healthy last year, they're still a Super Bowl team. And you got Miami. Miami's built up a great team and a great defense. They went 10-6 last year with two different quarterbacks, and Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua Tagovailoa. And then Houston, like you said, it's just, that's an easy game. You pretty much should expect AJ Brown to have a decent game that game. But for DK, obviously the first two, LA and Chicago, those are very difficult defenses. Then you get Detroit, and then week 18, Arizona. So it's a lot more favorable for DK. And like you said, you have Russell Wilson versus Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill coming off post Adam Gase era and played phenomenal. But also, too, you have Russell Wilson, who's a Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl winning quarterback, obviously knows what he's doing. I just have to give the favor to DK because of the, like you said, the basic situation that they're in. I mean, Tennessee has a new offensive coordinator, mediocre kind of guy, compared to Seattle, who has a good, solid offensive coordinator. I just like DK a lot, and DK could have just as easy as a big year as anyone in the NFL.
Fantasy football, it's talent versus opportunity. These guys are both talented, but you would say that DK at least has the better opportunity to succeed. Anyway, Slumpbusters, let us know in the comments below what you think about these two. Where are you targeting these guys in your draft? We want to know. Are you a DK? Are you AJ? Somewhere in between? I don't know. Maybe another Ole Miss, Elijah Moore, you know, who's out there with the Jets. Throw that name out there. Gotta give it to Ole Miss. They're actually wide receiver U, just behind Alabama. A lot of good wide receivers coming out of the SEC right now. Anyway, that's a rant. Leave a like on this video, subscribe to our channel as we close in on 2,000 subscribers. Check out our partner, cavemancoffeeco.com. Yes, cavemancoffeeco.com, promo code SLUMP. Don't be a chump, use promo code SLUMP. You won't be a chump if you subscribe to this channel and win your league. Juju Talk Sports, Drew Hagenbaugh. We'll see you next time.